On this edition of the forecast with Stingray and TP, we are going to discuss all of the winter weather potential for next week and the potential there for some bitter cold across the southeast. That and a whole lot more coming up on this episode of the forecast with Stingray and TP. Good Friday evening, everybody. I am Stephen Ray, aka Stingray, your host, and it is a pretty chilly night out there right now, as it is currently 42 degrees in the Tuscaloosa area, and we actually have a little bit of rain that is going to move in later tonight, and then, of course, all day tomorrow. But before we get to it, let me go on ahead and pull up my co-host, Taylor Plott. Taylor, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing pretty good, Stingray. How are you?
I'm good. And listen, I should say tonight, not today.
Yeah, I mean, tonight is definitely going to be more of a chilly night, but yeah, rain's moving in tomorrow for sure.
Yes, and let's go on ahead and tell people about tomorrow because it is going to be absolutely a raw day with rain all day, and then a temperature of around 45 degrees. And with the start of the rain, there could potentially be a little bit of sleet mixed in.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it starts out with some sleet and some snow mixed in, and then maybe a transition all to snow at some point during the afternoon and evening. Most of that will be across parts of Tennessee and maybe northeastern Alabama. But this is the beginning of it down there along the Gulf Coast. Mobile seeing some showers right now up to Laurel and Hattiesburg, Mississippi, over to the Thomasville, Monroeville area across parts of southern Alabama. So once this low, the system starts getting its act together, it will start to pump in a lot more moisture into our area. And that's going to lead into increasing coverage of some showers and, yes, even a chance at some winter stuff later on tomorrow.
So as you can see, rain is lined up basically from Butler up to Linden to Uniontown and Marion as well.
Yeah, and that's just across one of the it's not really a frontal zone. It's more of just an area of lift and convergence going on across the lower middle part of the atmosphere. And so once that starts moving on further inland, you're going to see an increase in showers.
Absolutely. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and go into the models if you would like. Now, the models themselves have been jumping back and forth on the potential of a winter weather system coming up towards the end of next week and They've also been on and off about bitter cold next week.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride in the world of the weather models over the past really week. Earlier in the week, we thought that the Arctic blast that was being advertised by the models was coming in on more of a Monday and Tuesday early in the week time frame, and then that quickly did a complete 180 and went from temperatures close to the single digits across northern Alabama to, all right, we're dealing with temperatures around 60 degrees, and it's really just pushed that all the way into the end part of the week, which I think is actually going to be a good bet. Is you're going to get this battle between the air masses. You're going to have a ridge, a low level ridge, situated across the Gulf of Mexico, and that's going to keep our temperatures on the warmer side of things. But then the Arctic air mass tries to come in, and it's just a battle between who wins out. And usually, because it's such a deep, very dense, cold Arctic air mass that's coming in, that usually wins out, but you end up getting a shallow layer of colder air. You end up not full thousands of feet through the air. The whole column of air is freezing. It will probably eventually get to that later on in the weekend, but when the precipitation moves in, you're more likely just dealing with a very shallow layer of cold air, and that is where some tricky things can happen.
Freezing rain.
You would get freezing rain, maybe some sleet, but the thing is, wherever what we talk about in the models, the 5,400 meter line and the 500 millibar area, that's going to be key. The 540 line is going to be key to where the snow would eventually be with this system, and that's going to either make or break you getting, talking about snow chances, or you're talking about freezing rain and sleet, and then of course further south you're just dealing with rain.
Right. So are you ready to go on ahead and pull up the different models and look through them?
Yeah, let's go ahead and pull up the good old weather computer here.
Okay.
And what we've got going on with this is the NAM model. This is the latest run. It's the 18Z run, and I don't like putting a lot of faith in 18Z runs, and a lot of people in the weather community don't too. I mean, it's not like we throw them completely out, but one of the things with these models in the 18Z and the 06Z timing is it doesn't have the luxury of the latest weather balloon data, and so it goes off more older data, and so it tends to let the model kind of go astray just a little bit. But this is what the model is showing right now. As we head later on into the evening, this is going to be in the afternoon, so this is going to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon according to the NAM model. Widespread showers across the area. Wouldn't be surprised with some of the spots across northern Alabama with this. If it's rain mixed in with some sleet and maybe a couple of snowflakes here and there. One of the processes that we're going to have tomorrow that's going to be really crucial to determine what all happens is the evaporative cooling process. You've heard us talk about this before. It's the same thing that happens when you take a hot shower and you get out of the hot shower and you're getting into more of a drier air mass. All of a sudden, all the water on your body just immediately evaporates and you get cold. That's the evaporative cooling process. And so what you're going to have is you're going to have this precipitation start to fall through a dry layer of air before it reaches the surface. And then that's going to naturally cool the atmosphere down. So you're probably going to have some sleet mixed in at first. But how the process unfolds will ultimately determine what all happens throughout this event. As you start to see here, as we head into 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're starting to see a little more blue show up across extreme parts of northeastern Alabama. That's the evaporative cooling process, cooling the air down to near freezing. And again, it's just going to be crucial. I can't say yay or nay whether this is going to create some good snow on the ground for some areas, or this is just going to be a little quick phase and the temperatures are still going to be above freezing and you're not going to be dealing with much of anything. That's the trick with this. And another thing is it's typically this part of the system and where the low pressure is situated, we really don't see a lot of snow generated unless we have a really, really cold air mass already in place. We really don't see this produce really good snow chances because even though you're on the northern side of the system, you're on the northeast side of the system. And so that actually brings in air from more of an easterly and northeasterly component. So we're talking about air that's coming from the Carolinas and maybe even the western part of the Atlantic. And usually that's not as cold. You want that flow coming in from the northwest, and that's what you got over there across the Missouri and northern Arkansas. You see the big blue blob over there. That's that northwestern part of the system. But as the evaporative cooling process continues, you're going to probably start to see a lot more snowflakes flying in with the rain. And there honestly could be some spots across northeastern Alabama that all transition all over to snow. And then if that happens, you're talking about potentially getting a dusting to maybe up to an inch of snow on the ground. I think the best chance of that will be across southern Tennessee and on the Cumberland Plateau over there on the western side or towards the west of Chattanooga. But as you see, as we head later on to the evening, this is 6 o'clock, and the blue is now mainly confined to parts of southern Tennessee. And so that's just that battle of the air masses going on. The temperatures are marginal at best. Temperatures only around 34 to 35 degrees as an average across the area. You're going to get some spots that get you around freezing where the snow falls, and then you get some other areas that are closer to 40 degrees with all rain falling, maybe a little bit of sleet mixed in. And then that moves on out, and you were just talking about just some rain left over, and then any snow problems look to confine itself to parts of Tennessee. And then as the back edge of the system moves on out, you're going to see probably some lingering snow showers and some snow flurries during the early morning hours of Sunday, and then your day's looking dry for the bulk of Sunday.
And man, so close. I mean, just so close.
It is, and that's just the name of the game with us here in the South. Is I mean, we've had I could tell you offhand that we've had hundreds of these situations where you're only off by a few degrees, and it means the world. I mean, I've seen what would be big time winter storm setups down here with a nice area low pressure in the Gulf, but the temperature is 35 degrees, and so you're only dealing with rain. Yes. And you only drop that temperature by about 3 degrees, and now you're talking about snow. So there's been countless times where we've had systems move through, and we're just right on the edge of things being all rain or things being all snow, and you're talking about close to a foot of snow on the ground. And that's just because of where we're situated.
And that actually happened a little bit earlier this year with the snowstorm that we actually had a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was definitely marginal at best. The one that happened in January is for parts of Alabama, parts of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi. That was the biggest snow that you've had since like the 80s. And it's just because of where we're located on the map. We're right next to a body of water that is naturally on the warmer side of things. It's not like the Pacific Ocean where you're looking at cooler temperatures on the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean, the west coast of the United States. We're close to a body of water that is usually always at least in the 60s during the wintertime. And then, of course, quickly getting to the 80s or 90s during the summertime, and it's nice to be in. But just because of where we're situated with that, we're lower in latitude. We're closer to the equator, of course, than the northern part of the United States. And that goes against our favor when it comes to winter weather, because we've just got a lot of factors going against us. We're usually on the milder side of things during the wintertime. Yeah, we get our cold shots, but on average, our temperatures are usually in the 40s and 50s.
Yes. So let's go ahead and real quick and talk about next week's system. And let's also talk about, the potential for the cold snap and brutal cold snap that the models are kind of jumping at.
Yeah, let me, I can go ahead and kind of just back things out and take a look at the continental United States. So this all is a part of the polar vortex. You've heard us talk about the polar vortex many, many times. It's the spin that goes around the poles. It's continuous all year round. And during the wintertime, what can happen is if you get some stratospheric warming which the stratosphere is a stable layer of air. It's the layer of the atmosphere just right above us. It's where the jets fly through. And what happens with it is when it starts to warm, it makes the polar vortex become unstable, and then it can break off into all these little pieces.
Yes.
And so this is the big piece that we're getting with this. We've been seeing this coming for quite some time. It was just a matter of time to when it actually happened. And what was first initially thought to be earlier in the week has now been pushed to late in the week. But the models are really holding steady on late in the week. But there's still a lot of back and forth going on, and we'll show you that here in just a second. But as we head into the middle part of the week, so this is going to be Tuesday afternoon at about 3 o'clock, we're going to get a trough, a little wave of low pressure that moves on through. But we're not going to be on the colder side of things with this. The cold side is going to be across parts of Missouri, Kentucky, and Tennessee near the Paducah area. They could be seeing a little bit of a mix of some freezing rain, maybe some sleet and some snow mixed in. And we're just going to be dealing with some rain showers down here. But notice how the trough, you get this other little piece that moves on through, and it kind of re-energizes that area of precipitation across parts of the Midwest and parts of Tennessee. So then you get another batch of some winter weather with that while we're still dealing with some showers. And then we get this other little impulse that comes in behind it. And now this is the one that really has us locked in to watching it. We're not locked into an idea yet, but we really have to watch this. Is you're getting this other impulse that comes together. And what you're going to get is you're going to get a frontal boundary. This could be kind of draped across a large portion of the area. It's going to be a stationary front. You're getting waves of low pressure that develop along that, creating all that lift. And where that stationary front sets up is going to be key in determining whether you're having winter weather issues or you're just having a cold, or in some cases even just a mild rain. Some of these places south of this front could be in the 60s. So it's just that very big difference of air masses that's going to be the trick with this. And so you see that one wave of low pressure, at least according to the GFS on this run, develops across central Alabama. And then this one is showing that we're just going to be dealing with some rain and maybe some rumbles of thunder or two. That's drastically different than what we had on the previous run. That's just the back and forth that the models go at with this system. And then with this run, the only thing that you're dealing with winter precipitation-wise is across extreme northern Alabama behind it with just some lingering snow showers and snow flurries. And then you're getting really cold behind that. You see all the blue lines getting across parts of central Alabama. But then this is interesting to see what happens after this, because I don't think this is going to be just, okay, that's our system, and if it doesn't happen, it's over. It looks like the big Arctic blast air mass is going to be sticking around a little bit, and you're going to be getting a little bit more wave activity behind it. So here's another one that comes in. This is going to be, at least according to GFS, next Monday, or excuse me, not next Monday, but the Monday after that. Talk about Monday, the day after Valentine's Day, 15th. And it has a system that moves on through that could potentially have some winter mischief with it. Again, that's so far out, you can't set that in stone, but then here comes another one behind it. Wow. And so you're getting into this pattern where you're going to get these multiple waves of either a trough of low pressure or a center of low pressure, area of low pressure that moves on through, and you're going to have some cold air around. And it could, I'm not saying that we're going to definitely be seeing snow out of this. I do think somebody is across parts of the South, whether that's Arkansas or Tennessee or somebody else. But if you want snow, I'll go ahead and say this. If you want snow here in the South, talking about Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, heck, even Florida, this is the pattern that you want to see. This is the sign, the signal that you want to see in the models. But again, does that mean it's actually going to happen? No, it doesn't. But there's a better shot at us getting some winter weather again, just based on the way the pattern is setting up.
Well, are there any other models that you want to look at too?
Yeah, we need to take a look at the European model as well. And this is going to be the one that has drastically changed over the past couple model runs. So there's our system we're dealing with this weekend. And I got to switch that because it only goes out 90 hours for the 18Z run. So this is going to be Wednesday at noon, just some showers around, and then we get this other wave that comes through. And then this model run develops the area low pressure and it moves off to our north and west. And that would be more of a, not necessarily a big severe weather look, because the temperatures will be a little bit on the cooler side still. So
Right.
I wouldn't set in stone that we're dealing with a big time severe weather risk, but you'll be dealing with some showers and maybe some rumbles of thunder or two. But look at what happened in the last run. The 12Z run, or excuse me, the 0Z run. This was last night, and notice how we get later into the forecast. It had a winter situation down here with the air low pressure in the Gulf. So that's a drastically different chance, a different look from what we saw last night to what we saw today. So you're going from the European model was basically showing a very crippling ice storm across a large portion of the South. And then on today's run, it's some showers and some embedded thunderstorms. So that's just the model madness that we're dealing with. It's a lot of back and forth going on, and a lot of it is just due to the fact that the way that the cold and the Arctic blast is very anomalous, and it's something that we really don't see every winter. And if we did, the models would probably have a better grasp on it because it happens every time. But we're dealing with something that happens maybe only once every 2 years or a few years, that you actually get this huge part of the polar vortex that splits off and this huge Arctic blast moving through. So it happens, but it's on the more of the rare case, and because of that, the models kind of go haywire on trying to figure it all out.
Well, let's go on ahead real quick. I don't know if you can go on ahead and pull this up or not, but let's talk about the pattern and temperature and precip probabilities for the next few weeks.
You wanted to go to the ensembles?
Yeah, or the pivotal weather one that you sent me.
Trying to remember which that one was.
It was the 6 to 10 day temperature probability outlook.
Oh, you're talking about the CPC.
Yes.
Yeah, let's see if it's on. It should be on here. I go to this. We'll go to pivotal weather. Yeah, and the CPC outlook has gotten drastically different. So this is the 60-day temperature outlooks. This goes from the 11th through the 15th of February, and that is well below normal temperatures here across the entire United States. And this is with that Arctic blast coming through. There's going to be temperatures here across the Midwest where you see that darkest blue. They're going to be well below zero. And talk about wind chills, maybe even colder than that. Maybe wind chills around 20 below and stuff like that. So, and this is just that ever-changing, evolving forecast. And just because we're dealing with such a, I keep saying it's rare. We do get it. It's not like we haven't seen this in 100 years. We get these every 2-3 years or so, and just the models don't like it because it's something that doesn't really happen on a regular basis. But it keeps changing, and it keeps moving the Arctic air later on to the week and just well below average. But another thing that's interesting is precip chances have gone from below average here across the South to more of an above average look. And so that's just that active pattern that we're starting to see come into play here. And so anytime you see that combined with that, if you're a winter weather fan, that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see a well below average temperatures, and you want to see, in this case, slightly above average precipitation. So everything's there. Everything's there if you want some winter weather stuff down here. It's just a matter of how things actually end up setting up, and it's just a matter of who's going to get what. And it's all going to boil down to, are the temperatures going to be in place, which I can pretty much go ahead and just kind of check that off. Again, it's going to depend on where you are behind where the front sets up, but there's going to be temperatures in place across parts of the South where you could be dealing with some winter stuff. The next thing is going to be how the trough moves in and kicks out, and then that's going to determine where a either large trough of low pressure develops or an area of low pressure center area of low pressure sets up. So all those are going to be key in determining who ends up getting what with this.
And I tell you what, man, I tell you, it really does look really good for us snow fans. I don't know about you, but I'm a snow fan. I really want to see it.
Yeah, so I've actually got a funny story behind that. Growing up here in the South, I'm just with you. I'm a huge snow fan. Love the snow. Really don't want to see it. But when I got my first gig in the TV field up in Cheyenne, Wyoming, you got a Southern boy coming up there who only sees snow, a good snow, maybe once every 3 years or so, and going up there and you're getting snow almost on a daily basis. And I ended up really not liking snow just because it happens so often. But I'm back around to, I hadn't seen a good one in a while, so I'm back to being that Southern snow fan again, because I don't live out in the Northwest anymore, so I don't really see it on a daily basis. But one of the things that's also we need to watch, and this has been trending, it's again going kind of back and forth, which is expected even with the ensembles. But this is going to be the probability of snow exceeding at least 1 inch, so 1 inch and above. And when we head down here to the southeast, this is this goes through noon on Thursday. Let me make sure this is the latest one. Let me go to this one. So this goes through the entire forecast of the European ensembles. And this goes to Saturday morning of the 20th. And so what this is all of the ensemble members that the European model has, which is a lot of them. I'll show you another graphic here in a second. But this is all of those combined and what they all show, and give a percentage based on how much snow they actually see happening within those ensembles. And right away you can see where the majority of the snow is going to be. And it's going to be in that dark red spot off to our north. But you're starting to get some probabilities around 30 to 40% across the northern part of the state, and even some northeastern parts of Alabama, places like Jackson County and DeKalb County. You're getting up to that 50-60% range. So things are looking good on the ensembles, but they continue to go back and forth with this idea. And here's the GFS ensembles probability, and see it's kind of on the same page as well. It's been trending back a little bit. I can show you what happened last night. This is last night's run. You see that we had more darker colors moving in here in the 80 to 90% range. And then you kind of started to trend back a little bit. And so I've seen this trend a lot, where it's gone kind of back and forth. It trended really good with winter weather, and then it really went away. And now it's kind of trending back to that winter weather idea. But
you know
here
what really sucks?
Do what?
You know what really sucks?
What's that?
Tuscaloosa's always right on the line.
Yeah, and you're right on that line with that very lowest percentage too. So again, it all depends on how things set up. If that front is south of Tuscaloosa, and Tuscaloosa has temperatures in the 20s, you're going to get stuff.
Yes.
On the flip side of that, if you're south of that front, and you're probably going to be in the 40s, 50s, maybe even 60s, and you're just going to be dealing with all rain.
Right.
But I wanted to show the individual members, and I'm going to have to kind of zoom in to the screen a little bit. So what this is these are all the members And let me go back to the longest run that it has. So these are all the members, at least the first part of the members, on the European model, the ensembles. And so each one starts out with a different parameters. And what you end up seeing is, I go all the way to through the forecast. It goes out 360. There we go. So that's all the ensemble members' outlook on the snow, and that's a really good pattern to get in. I mean, you're seeing a lot of colors getting close to the southern states here. Again, these are members. This is members 1 through 25, and then here's members 26 through 50. And so they're all showing that potential for some winter stuff down here. So it's just a matter of seeing how the trend goes. But you see, there's a lot of differing opinions on this. Some of them have tons of snow down here. Others really don't have anything, and then others kind of have, say, around 3 to 4 inches. So kind of like the middle ground of things. But the patterns there, the signal in the models is there. Here's the GFS members. This is going to be the mean. We can take a look at this real quick. So this is the average of everything put together. And again, it's kind of trended a little bit back. Here's the 12Z. See how to go more blue across parts of northern Alabama. And so this is going to be 18Z yesterday. And just see how it trends. Trending good, then it trended back away from it, and then it trended back to it, and now it's trended back away again. So it's just an ever evolving forecast. Us in the weather community, we're going to be pulling our hair out looking at all this stuff, because it's just so ever changing, and it's just something that the models don't really handle that well. And these are all the GFS members. They have 30 members on the GFS ensembles, and so you see still that idea ranging from getting a really good snow down here to really not dealing with anything. So it's just something we'll have to watch. You're going to see a lot of models being posted over the next several days, and most of those are going to be the extreme, talking about, oh look, here's a major winter storm, or here's a major ice storm. If you only see one model, that's not good meteorology. That's not good science. You can't just go off of one model. If I went off of one model, my forecast would be horrible every single day. You just got to look at everything combined together. And in this situation, what we're doing is, what we do in the weather community and science is, you got two extremes. Well, the truth is probably going to be somewhere there in the middle. So that's why you're seeing our forecast right now reflect more of a middle ground solution right now. And that's going to change as we get later into this weekend and into next week, when we start fine-tuning the forecast and getting a more definite idea, models really coming together on a more specific idea, and then our forecast can really hone in and zero in on what's going to happen.
How cold of weather are we talking about here for next week?
It could get pretty cold. So let's go back to the GFS and take a look at some of these temperatures.
Because I know earlier you had talked about some of the negative areas north of here, but you never did say about here.
Yeah, it's going to be very questionable here whether we get single digits or not as we head into. There's that front, by the way, that sets up, at least according to this run. You see where you're going to have winter weather compared to rain and maybe even some thunderstorms. But then the Arctic blast moves on in, and this is going to be noon next Saturday, according to the GFS. And places like Huntsville, Scottsboro, and Florence might not even get out of the 20s, if that, just the lower 20s. Could just have some teens around there. And then waking up on Sunday morning, temperatures could be in the single digits. So again, that's just the models have pushed the Arctic blast from earlier in the week to late in the week into the weekend of next week.
Dude, look at that. Negative.
Yeah, I tell you, it's gonna be brutal across parts of the Midwest. I mean, St. Louis St. Louis could be waking up next Sunday to temperatures around 20 below if this verifies.
Dude, look at this. 3 degrees in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up getting single digits. I'm more on board with them getting single digits than parts of Alabama right now, just because they're going to be further north. But that's the GFS, the European model. It has heading to the weekend. Notice it's a little bit warmer. So you're getting, again, just that wide variety back and forth on differing ideas on how things go. And again, I can't stress this enough. I'm not surprised by this just because of how anomalous the Arctic blast is. I mean, if you're talking about single digits happening or even below zero happening as far south as St. Louis, that's pretty anomalous. You don't really see that every year. And so the models just see that and see this big Arctic air mass coming in, part of the polar vortex, and it just goes haywire. It can't really determine what it wants to do.
Yes. So, is there anything else that you want to look at? I do actually have a question, though.
Yeah, go ahead. What is it?
With this pattern being so weird, what are your thoughts on the tornado and severe weather season for 2021 in the spring?
Just based on the fact that we're probably going to be in a weakening La Nina going into a neutral phase, depending on when that actually happens. We're in a La Nina right now. And usually, historically speaking, when you're dealing with a La Nina weakening into more of a neutral phase, you end up getting a lot more active severe weather and tornado seasons, especially here across the South. You kind of see more of a turn to the Alabama, the Dixie Alley area getting a little bit more active than the Central Plains gets. It kind of goes against the norm just a little bit. Not saying that they're not going to get tornadoes out there. It's just we end up actually getting a little bit more active. It feels like than they might be. I think it's definitely going to be active.
Yes.
Based on the way that just looking at just how crazy the pattern is now, and you're getting into that weakening La Nina at some point during the spring, maybe late spring. It kind of sends a signal out to, yeah, we could be dealing with a pretty active severe weather season down here. Not saying that's going to be the case. I mean, it could be unusually quiet. We've seen where it looks like it's going to be an active season, and we end up getting maybe 1 or 2 tornado events, and that's it. And now you're into summer, and you're just dealing with pop-up thunderstorms. So it can go against what the usual idea is, but just the way that everything's setting up right now and the way that the pattern is just very active and crazy, I would lean more towards just dealing with an active severe weather season overall.
Well, man, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens getting into next week, and then, of course, the weekend with the potential for winter weather.
Yeah, fun times ahead for sure for us in the weather community. Like I said, we're going to be pulling our hair out by the time that we're done with this, and it's just crazy. We're going to be in for a fun ride, I'll tell you that. Whether or not we end up getting snow down here, it's going to be fun because it's just going to be, I mean, one extreme to another.
And dude, hopefully by the time we get this show next week, hopefully we can do it again on Wednesday night. Hopefully we will have a better a better look.
Yeah, we'll more likely have a much better in the back of my mind. I know we say that, when we get into next week, the models will probably kind of hone in on one idea. That's usually the case, but I do want to stress a little bit that just based on the fact that this is a very anomalous system, Arctic blast moving through, I wouldn't be surprised if we're still dealing with drastic differences
Yeah.
in the models coming up to when it should happen. So just keep that in mind to where it's possible that we could get into next week and we're still kind of, we really don't know.
Well,
We
man,
should know, but it's possible.
well, dude, I think that's going to do it for this edition of the forecast with Stingray and TP. Before we sign off, is there anything else you want to say?
Just, keep it tuned here. I'll keep updating my weather page on Facebook. We're going to just kind of go through this one step at a time. I'll show you the trend that's going on. We'll kind of dive a little bit deeper into some models and take a look at kind of how the atmosphere might set up and stuff. But just just know that we're probably going to be dealing with some very interesting weather next week. I'll just say that, whether that's in the form of snow, ice, or rain, it's going to be interesting to watch how it unfolds. So just keep checking back for the latest. Each model run is going to either set a trend or it's going to take back a trend, meaning that it's going to set a trend for either snow or it's going to back away from that and be like more rain, kind of what we're seeing a little bit right now. So who knows? The next model run after this, later on tonight, could go back to a snow solution. So it's crazy.
And Taylor, real quick, I want to end on this. In 2 days, we have the Super Bowl. Who is your pick to win the Super Bowl and why?
So I'll go ahead and say this. I've never been a big Tom Brady fan. It's not that I don't like him. It's just I've never been like a big Patriots fan. So he's been on the Patriots for almost all of his career. Of course, now he's with the Buccaneers. But I really like Kansas City. I really like Mahomes. I like how his style of play is. It's one of those where you think you've got him, and then he just comes out of nowhere, and it's just he's hitting you right in the face and knocking you out. It's the dude plays with his heart on his sleeve like crazy, and I like Kansas City. I think it'll be a close game. I think it could easily be a game where it comes down to the final drive. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's whoever has the ball last, whether it's Tampa Bay or it's Kansas City. It could be where, all right, there's 5 seconds left. It's 3rd or 4th and goal on the 2, and if they score, they win. So I think it could be an instant classic for sure. I'm going to go ahead and go with Kansas City. I like Kansas City. I like Mahomes. I like how their defense works. They've given up a little bit more points this year than they usually do in the past, but their offense is clicking on all cylinders, and I don't see them really being stopped. So I'm going to have Kansas City about, I'll say, 35 to 32.
I'm actually going Kansas City, and I'm going 42-24.
Oh, so you think it's going to be a little bit more of a blowout then?
Yes, especially after the way that they shut down the Bills.
Yeah, and Josh Allen was. I mean, if you're going to shut down Josh Allen, that's impressive in its own self, because Josh Allen is a very, very talented quarterback. I actually got to cover him. I did some sports up while I was in Wyoming, and of course he went to the University of Wyoming, and his style of play is kind of Mahomes like.
Yes.
In that he likes to scramble a lot, roll around the pocket, and find those open receivers. And if they're not open, he's going to scramble, and he's pretty quick. He's built like a Ben Roethlisberger. He actually kind of looks like Ben Roethlisberger in the face a little bit, but once he gets going, I mean, he can run all over you. So yeah, the fact that they were able to shut the Bills down, that defense, if they can do the same thing with Tom Brady. I know Tom Brady's not a scrambling quarterback. He's really never been, but if they can slow Tom Brady's passing down just a little bit, I think they're going to be good as gold and going to win back-to-back championships.
Well, man, that's going to do it for this edition of the Forecast with Stingray and TP. We hope you guys have enjoyed it, and as always, God bless. The Super Bowl is this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you right back here on the forecast next week, hopefully with a better solution for what's coming up next weekend.
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yes. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you right back here next week on the show.
See you guys.